Hey guys, it's Holly here and I'm with Dr. Elaine Norton and we are back. It is week number 7 of my WBFF World's Contest Prep video series. You went to say something, Lane. What were you going to say? So, this week, thankfully, was my final week of dieting.
Stop!
Hold up.
What the hell is this? Why are you so far?
Don't you like my little blue couches?
She has finally figured out a way to separate myself from her.
I know, I'm using my noggin. So yes, we are in a new location. We've just moved offices, which is very exciting. We are expanding our team, which is awesome, and we just don't have enough space at our house anymore. It's getting a little crammed for everybody. So we are
in the
furry couch area.
Lane office in history. I no longer operate out of my small room in my house.
We now have a nice space. This past week, as I said, was my 3rd week of my dieting phase for this contest prep. So I do 3 weeks on, 1 week of diet break, as you guys know. And obviously, as we get a little bit closer to the end of the contest, that frequency of diet breaks will actually start to increase as I'm trying to mitigate some of that metabolic adaptation. Now, this week we made quite a few adjustments, didn't we, to the types of foods that I was eating, my behaviors, because I was starting to stall.
You were kind of letting yourself get way too lax.
Yeah, I have this problem of being way too lax when I diet.
Well, no, you're actually very detail orientated in terms of like you always track your macros down to the gram. However, you rely way too much on estimations. And I think that needed to be reined back in because of how much you like to eat out.
Yes.
And I think that was, you just don't know what you're getting. So
I think one of the problems was we do eat out quite a bit. We have a lot of guests in town always and we're kind of entertaining and socializing. This week I kind of stopped all of that. So here's just an example for you. Let's say we eat out 3 times a week in the evenings for dinner. And maybe each time I eat out, I underestimate, let's say, the fat macro by, I don't know, 15 grams. So for those 3 meals for the week, 9 calories, so that's about 135 calories
you'd be 405
each time.
Calories under.
I'm 405 calories over for the week, and that's just in those 3 meals, and that's assuming that I estimated the other 2 macros, protein and carbs, correctly. So we're already at 405. Let's say I have some diet jello. So maybe I have 4 sachets of diet jello. Each of those have 4 servings and there's 10 calories per serving. So we're looking at another 160 calories.
You weren't counting those?
Yeah, I was counting them, but when we enter them into our tracking apps, what happens is they will track the calories.
But not the macros.
But the macros don't actually align. Now, remember, I've talked about this many times before about rounding errors, so the food manufacturers can actually round down. So if you're not actively looking and tracking your macros, you may find that you still have calories left over at the end of the day. If you're looking at your calorie target.
Well, you would have carbs left over.
Yeah.
Because your calories would be at their match, but then your carbs and whatnot would be low, because if you look on the side of those gelatins, it says 0 carb. So a way you could probably get around that is if you use an app that allows you to enter a custom food in, you could, instead of using what's listed there,
you can just create
enter it in yourself. And so I always enter in another 1.5 grams of carbohydrate because if it's 1 gram of protein and there's 10 calories, then you have to account for another 6 calories. So it may sound like nothing, but when you start compounding these things where if you're chewing sugar-free gum, you do that and you don't track it.
So I've been including the Professor Nuts product, and if you guys aren't familiar with what that actually is, it is a peanut butter product, and it is listed as 0 grams of fat and 0 grams of carbohydrate. Now there is protein in there as well because it's a nut product. What they actually do is they add in a fibrous molecule which has a cyclic structure and basically encapsulates lipids, and therefore The idea is that it passes through our stomach where calories are absorbed, and the duodenum where calories are absorbed, and micronutrients, and we don't absorb that. However, once it arrives in our gut, and I mentioned this in last week's update video, I talk about it in a little more detail, you can actually reabsorb some of those short chain fatty acids that are produced by our gut microflora. So I think even worst case scenario, if I absorbed half of that, let's say there's in a 32 grams serving, there's 16 grams of fat normally. So let's say I only absorb 7 of that or something. That's 63 calories. And if I have that 3 servings a week, that's starting to add up.
Well, so the real problem is you actually don't know.
Yeah,
That's the problem, is you don't know. There probably is some that bypasses. But the other thing is, if that was the case, you would be having a lot more frequency of stools, and you weren't. So if something is not absorbed, it has to come out somewhere. So the fact that you didn't have an increased rate of number 2s, I'm sorry, I don't believe in these diet products yet. I think there needs to be more research. I think people are different as well. If you have a different gut microflora, like she said, the cyclic structure of this fiber makes it inaccessible for your digestive enzymes. However,
it's not inaccessible.
You don't know what's happening in your large intestine, where you have large colonies of gut bacteria. Maybe they can't get to it, and maybe they can't digest it, but maybe they can. And there's also this evidence with like carb blockers. So this is different products, but with carb blockers, it does block carbohydrate digestion in the small intestine. However, the large intestine can still ferment those carbohydrates to short chain fatty acids, and those can get reabsorbed in the liver, and you still get some of the calories from that.
You can't trick our
so
bodies.
my opinion is that these diet products should be used sparingly, if at all, and unless you're talking about something like aspartame, where it's so sweet, you're only using like 200 milligrams of it. So even if everything was absorbed somehow, you're just not gonna get energy from it. You're not gonna get calories from it. So we kind of had a talk, and we decided you were going to cut those out.
Yeah, well, if you add up the math just there, that's about 800 calories for the week, just that I can think of, that might have actually been consumed. So if we divide that by the number of days per week, 7, I'm still getting another extra 100 calories, or just over 100 calories extra than what I am meant to be hitting. So if you're trying to cut, that's a lot.
That could be the difference between hitting your threshold.
Or like hitting a plateau. So yeah, I did exactly that. We cut those foods out this week, and I stuck to more whole foods, and my weight has just gone. Which is
I believe I had that. What was the other? You also modified your activity, so you changed out. You didn't do less activity. We changed out your low intensity for more HIIT.
Correct. Yeah, it's difficult to track that exactly.
Yeah, it is.
For example, I was previously doing about 180 minutes of just walking. So I subbed out 40 minutes for the Stairmaster instead. So I think that change up has done a lot of benefit for me in the way that I think I'm super adapted to walking. I don't get a lot of calorie spend, and I have to do a lot of it to get even a very small calorie spend. So I've not only saved myself a bunch of time by not going on all those walks, because now I'm doing something
I've actually
that's
seen
a lot
you more
more
this week.
Yeah, I've actually had to do less in the way of time, and I'm getting a much more productive outcome in that I burn and expend more energy from that HIIT stair session that I've been doing.
Yeah, I mean, I've had these times in preps too where I kind of had to have a gut check and be honest with myself about I was eating a lot of diet products and starting to rely way too much on kind of easy walking, where I'm like listening to music or I'm listening to a podcast or that kind of stuff, and had to kind of gut check myself as to, okay, well, you're not making progress.
Yeah.
You should be making progress. So obviously you're just not getting the calorie expenditure, or you're eating more calories than you think you are.
Yeah.
So there's no magic here, right? So I had to kind of gut check myself and say, all right, let's change this up. Let's do more intense stuff, and let's cut out some of these diet foods.
What did you do for your high intensity? What was your HIIT workouts? I just can't imagine this. I've just never seen you do it. No, I want to know. What did you do?
I would usually do car pushes.
Really?
So I would go out to a parking lot, and I would push a car 40 yards, my Alero, and I would do like 10 to 15 of those.
Like, would you sprint?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, like I would like, well, you can't really sprint with a car, but like I would
push the car. It's not that hard.
You're just lovely today. Well, you can't sprint full blast when you're pushing a car, is what I'm saying. So, I would try to push the car as fast as I could for 10 to 15 rounds. I would kind of just walk in between that.
That's really cool.
And like the week before my first pro show I did, probably not the brightest thing in the world, but I went out to the parking lot. I'm going to push this car until I collapse. So I did like 20 rounds of it.
Really?
And then walk back. It was like August in Florida. Yeah.
Oh man!
And then I walked
to Florida in August.
10 minutes home and just fell into my pool and just laid there for like 3 hours. I was so dead, but it worked. So I think that the change we made a big difference for you. You've had a big weight drop this week. So why don't we go look at the data? Or the data and see what it says.
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right. So looks like adherence was really good this week. 95%, so a little bit low, but that's because you chose not to take a high day because you felt like you were really behind, and you are behind where you need to be at this point. So I think that it's probably good that you take a diet break because you need it, but at the same time when you get back to it, it seems like whenever you come off of a diet break, there's always like this lag time. It's like you kind of have trouble getting back into your groove and really pushing. So I think when you come out of this diet break, you really need to have the mentality of go hard.
Go for
you know what I mean?
Yeah, so this week you can see my targets. So we still haven't changed those. They were 110 for carbs, 36 fats, 155 protein. So super aggressive on my low days just to get things moving. And then we had the scheduled high day of 18:30. Now that high day here, which is where I'm clicking now, I did not take that. I still hit a low day, and thankfully I did because my weight continued to come down and get back in line with where I need to be. So 66.8 was my weight at the start of the week, and then we have trended down to 66.2. My lowest weigh-in was on Sunday at 65.6, which is great.
Actually, weren't you 65.4 the day after that?
Monday.
Yeah, or 64.8 on Monday. Yeah, so you have come down quite a bit, but obviously like the average is what we typically look at. And your average is still behind by over a kilo.
Yeah, so my average for this week is 66.5. If we have a look at where I'm meant to be based on my predictions, so my rate of loss, remember I'm trying to work to about 0.8% of my body weight on the weeks of dieting, which works out to be around 0.6 kilos each week. So here's where I started at 68.5. If I was trending down correctly, this week I should have been at 65.1. Now we know that my weight is actually, if we flick over, I'm at 64.8. I've hit that once this week. So if we were to take a weight or a single weight in isolation, yes, I'm there, but my average is still a little bit behind.
But that was probably a little bit artificially low as well because you didn't have a high day. You had some really intense cardio, that kind of stuff. So I think you're probably close to where you should be, but I think you're probably a little bit behind. So like I said, I think that if you come out of this diet break and you really focus on hammer down, but also we're coming out of this diet break and you're off to Hawaii pretty soon for your hen's night, your bachelorette party. So it's going to be tough for you and you really got to buckle down.
Yes. So this week we've recalculated my diet break macros, but I think that's going to be next week's video, isn't it? We're just talking about this week. Psych, not telling you.
Well, we went conservative.
Yes, so you can see my protein compliance this week was great on both days. I was right within that 155 range or within 5 grams, the allowable range I try to stick to. And then for my carbohydrates, I was right dead on for those for the most part. I had a couple of lower days on Friday and Saturday. You can see that I have substituted out some of that for a glass of wine, or I think 2 shots of vodka is what 40 grams of alcohol kind of works out to be. So you can see my fiber intake comes down a little bit on that day. Now, caveat to that, there you can see that I'm trending down on Saturday, and then Sunday I'm really low. That is because I had a photo shoot. So on Sunday the 19th, I was actually going out for a full afternoon of photo shoots, and I usually try to drop my fiber intakes down the day before, and I take a laxative just to make sure that my stomach isn't all bloated and I'm feeling gross. So it definitely worked. And
that's another reason you're probably a little bit artificially low.
Exactly. That would help explain this kind of 64.8 the following days, because I really didn't have anything inside me. So, yeah.
Nothing?
So that sums up this past week. You can see my average calories down here at 1375, which is pretty low, but we are getting that drop. So, yeah.
We're going to diet break week. So
diet break this week, which is great timing because we have Mark and Lauren staying with us. So it's Mark Carroll and Lauren Simpson. So they're here for the week to hang out and film, just have some fun. So that'll give me a little bit more flexibility if we need to kind of be out and be social with those two. So, yeah. Anything else to add, Lane?
Nope. Time to get after it.
Oh my God, it's getting down to the scary stuff. We have, 12 weeks left?
Mm-hmm.
I think, 12 weeks to go. Yee. All right, guys, thank you so much for tuning into this week's update. Hopefully you can kind of apply some of this information to your own diet if you're dieting, if you're contest prepping. Hopefully you can use some of this information to better facilitate the changes that you're making to your own contest. If you haven't got copies of our books, I'm going to put the links in the description below. We've got Lane's Contest Prep Guide, which is excellent. We've had probably over 15,000 purchases for that particular book and had some fantastic results, not just for competitors, but for people looking to just lose weight in a healthy, sustainable way. We've got Fat Loss Forever, which is just killing it. That's a fantastic book. It teaches you about the long-term behaviors and characteristics of people that are successful in weight loss and how you can diet and then keep that weight off. And then if you would like some ideas to help facilitate enjoyable foods while you're dieting without that restriction and that rigidity, we have the Contest Prep Recipe Guide, my book as well, which you can get in like a soft hard cover. Is that what you
Paperback.
A paperback? Oh, fancy.
Soft hardcover?
Well, it's a hard cover, but it's actually soft. So it makes sense.
Hard copy, you mean? Like physical copy?
Yeah, physical
It's not like
copy.
jumbo shrimp.
So yeah, go and check those out. The links
In
in the
short,
description.
Like our stuff, comment below, subscribe, and buy our stuff.
Thanks
Catch
for
you guys
watching.
next week.